Jacques. This is Dapper Stuff. It's an extension of my wet shaving channel, but I'm segregating the content, so wet shaving one side and everything else on this channel. So in that regard, first of all, welcome. You'll see stuff around motorcycles, knives, sharpening, photography and equipment. So first of all is everything I purchase myself. I don't get sponsored. That would be nice, but having said that, I've seen the value in sharing my experiences and education around topics to be useful for a lot of people. So we're going to have a look at this beauty. I purchased this bike new. The first model came out in 29 or 2010, and Triumph spent the last, I don't know, 14 years designing and coming up with version 2, and this is a totally different machine. So you found this channel either by accident or by interest. I'm not going to get into the numbers. All of the other people does these kind of reviews. I'm gonna first of all is over time take you through long-term ownership of this vehicle, motorcycle. I've had it for a month now. It's got 1,000 kilometers on. I'm going to tell you about some of the things I've done, some of the things I've struggled with, and take it from there. So the very first thing is, it's not the first Triumph I've owned, a triple. I've owned a couple. So I know the engine characteristics. They are totally different to any other machine, and a lot of people would observe that it sounds like it's a broken engine, for lack of a definition about how it idles until it gets running. So with that knowledge and understanding what a triple sounds like, a couple of things I've picked up on this motorcycle from you. The first is the front mudguard. When the bike idles or under low revolutions, you will hear a vibration if you can segregate it from the engine noise, and it comes from this front fender. So it's got a little bit of space, so if you tap it, it's got a vibration. Mine hasn't got. What I've done is I've removed these 4 bolts with the Allen key, and here at the bottom it's got 2 spines, so it slides on from the back to the front, and then you fasten these bolts. So what I've done is one-way sponge tape I've put on the inside of the frame, and then put it back, and that vibration and noise is gone. So that's the first mod I've done on this bike. The other thing which you'll notice is this is a GT, and it's got mid mounts on. It came with a front controls, which I actually enjoyed a lot, and after about 3 weeks of driving, I was wondering if I needed to go to the mid mounts, but I did order them, and I really enjoy them. It's money well spent. It changes this bike characteristics and driving position a lot. It actually becomes a new bike. So when they put on, it's a different kit, so you can't use the fronts on the back. This is a totally different kit. I have got the original, so if there's anybody in South Africa that's looking for forward mounts for this bike, I do have got a pair, brand spanking new. So that's the foot pegs. The other thing I've done is on the seat. I'll quickly show you guys. When you take the seat off, this seat has got 4 recesses, if I can put it that way, and that pushes on the paintwork here. So I've put in translucent strips on here where these recesses press on to ensure that the paint there does not take hammering. So that's the other thing I've done. Let's quickly talk about some of the other things. The key, it's a keyless system, but what I found, and again this morning, is if this remote is somewhere in the open on the table in cold conditions, you come to the bike, it will not recognize it. It won't pick it up. I'm quite sure it's cold because if you put the remote in the sun for a minute, or just rub it with your hands, or put it in your warm pocket for a minute or two, and you come to the bike, all is working. So I have made Triumph aware of that. I'm not sure what's going to come from that. First of all, I'm in South Africa, so I've worked with Triumph in Hatfield. I did not know the sales manager. I don't know that organization. I've never seen this bike besides on pictures, and I drove the 2010 model when it came out, and back then I said this is a motorcycle I would consider buying. And when they revamped it into this beautiful machine, I've been saving for 10 years essentially, and now I've got it. The other things I've done is I have changed the preload on this machine. When they come, they are very low down, all the way down on the preload. I essentially raised this 2/3 up in the range it's got. I can't remember how many clicks. But I lifted that a lot. The seat height, stock standard, is 30 inches from the ground. I'm 5'9", so that's 177. And if I sit on the motorcycle, you will see even with the preload, I'm flat-footed. Having said that, the seat is shaped like a reverse heart, so it becomes a whole lot wider to the back. So if you sit further back in the seat, obviously the legs are wider apart, and if I sit right in the back of the seat, you'll see my heels are slightly lifted. If I come forward, flat-footed, back there, slightly up, and that's with the raised preload. Other things, the fuel cap, what I've noticed, and I've seen some other people, I'm not sure if they make the mistake, this cap is not keyless, so you need to use a key to unlock it, and then unscrew it. So maybe I'll edit that out, a little bit of stupidity. So if you unlock it, take it out, put in your fuel, close the gap up, nice satisfying lock, which most people do, and off you go. This is not locked. You need to use the key again, which in a kind of a way makes sense. So locked, and now this will just spin, will never come off. So that's one thing I've picked up, a little mistake I've made, and maybe some of you guys. Let's cut and I'll show you some other footage, some things of the motorcycle I like. The one is the equipment. Everything's over-engineered, thick, beefy forks. We spoke about the Brembo Stylimas, 3 pistons on a 320mm discs, dual of them. The stopping power on this machine's quite incredible. My current fork travel, you'll see starts getting dirty there, so that's how far my forks are traveling down. I am braking quite hard to test some things, but I've got a little bit space left if I really need to hammer it. So I'm very satisfied with the setup of the suspension from factory. A lot of folks find it a bit on the sportier side, and I think that's the intention, because this is also a bike supposed to be used in the twisties and have fun. It's not a sports bike, but it's got brilliant handling characteristics. And on the rear, so these are the Brembo master slave cylinders. And then on the rear, it's got a full piston Brembo on a 300mm disc single, and then here's the shaft. The equipment on this, everything's prime, flagship type content. This motorcycle is engineered, over-engineered from start. So Triumph's philosophy when they made this version 2 of the machine is that if you have a part, it must at least perform a minimum of 2 other functions. So as an example, the frame at the top, the ram air is essentially through the frame. They've also got some wiring going in there. Under the fuel tank, this side is obviously the header, so the air intake actually sits on the other side. It does look like a massive tank, but it only takes 18 liters. So this has got a dual purpose. This side holds a lot of the electronics as well. So that's the whole philosophy and the way they design the machines. Triumph has got a factory, a custom factory machine, and when you look at that machine, you'll see they've got exactly the same exhaust system, except the bike's covered in carbon fiber, and the exhaust system they've got on there is an Arrow. This is Arrow. Triumph doesn't state it openly, but it's exactly the same system. It is beautiful. The other thing I like about this machine is the contrast. All of the machines have got very fine details in contrast. The way they polish the engines, it's contrast the whole time, everywhere on the lining. There's contrast everywhere. Dark light, dark light, dark light. And it just pops. The other thing you'll notice on this motorcycle is, besides the braided hoses you'll see in here, there's no other wiring visible, so everything's tucked away. The controls wiring is in these thick handlebars on the inside. The bike's old school retro look infused with technology, and I'll do a different video on some of the technology. I don't want to make these videos too long and too dragged out. The other thing which I've done, I've raised the headlights. As I said, the bike coming from the factory is a little bit squatted down, plus this is a larger profile tire than the rear, so it naturally stands up to have a little bit of a cruiser style. And so when I lifted the preload, it's gone down, and these headlights has got a general tendency to be pointing a lot down. In fact, nothing more than 6 meters, it starts hitting the road surface in front of you. So we've lifted the bike, and I've asked them to adjust the light so that we've got a better spread. Other than that, this motorcycle doesn't need any accessories. You can add panniers if you want to travel, and maybe a larger fly screen or windscreen for long touring, but other than that, everything on this motorcycle, at least for me, is a quality, and you don't need to do anything else. I can't think of anything else. If I do, we'll do that in a follow-up video. You've seen a ride already. We'll do a bit more rides, look at the suspension, the braking, how the electronics on this bike works, and some other stuff. So 1,000 kilometers, once you've broken this engine in, the running period, it needs to go back. That's a bunch of money if you don't have a service plan. In South Africa, they don't come with service plans, so it's high-end 4-liter oil into this massive machine, and I think another liter or liter and a half of very high-end oil. It's shaft driven for that, and a couple of consumables. So that is the expense if you haven't got a service plan, so consider that. Don't be too eager to break these machines in if you cash trap at that point in time. Rev these machines high, they just go out of the blocks. So the minimum RPM in a run-in phase at the beginning is 4,000 RPMs, and trust me, you'll be illegal in all of the gears if you stick to those RPMs. So no need to rev this machine. I appreciate you for dropping by. I hope you found some of the content useful, interesting, and then we'll do some other videos, as I said, more educational, rider safety, how I find this bike and so forth. So thank you. See you guys on the next one.